And good afternoon, everyone. It is a historic day in the city of trees. President Obama's plane is just moments away from touching down at Gowan Field. There is Air Force One, the president making his first visit to Idaho as sitting president. We want to go out to Chris Oswald live at Gowan Field, where the Air Force One is now on approach. Chris, tell us, set the scene for us. What's it like out there?
Hey, Roland, it's a very busy place out here. As you can see, Air Force One is getting ready to land here at Gowan Field. This is the president's first trip as a sitting president, as you mentioned. There is a lot of media, a lot of people out here watching the crowds. We also know that Mayor Beater is on the plane here with President Obama. He was in Washington, D.C. for a mayor's conference. He's going to exit the plane here, as you can see it coming down, about to land here on the runway at Gowan Field. Now, all airlines have been stopped here at Gowan Field for the president's arrival. There are Black Hawk helicopters up in the air right now around the airport and Gowan Field to provide security for the president's arrival. Now, President Obama uses Air Force One for most of his travels. Everywhere he goes, as you see, Air Force One is making its landing here on the runway right now. As the president comes down the runway, he's going to stop down here just in front of where we are, where their Secret Service is. As soon as he exits, he will then come down, get in the presidential motorcade, which is here behind me, and it's going to get loud, so I apologize if you can't hear me here. But Air Force One is on the ground here in Boise. This is the president's first trip to the city of trees. The state of Idaho is the sitting president. You can see the airline is braking right now as the president arrives in Boise, Idaho. He is officially here. He will be leaving the airport here to go to Boise State University, where he's going to talk economics. Now, once the plane lands, the president will exit, followed by all of his aides and his workers, who will then come down here to just to the right of where we are is the presidential motorcade, and then go to Boise State. Now, Air Force One is a 4,000 square foot airplane with 3 levels. He uses it for everything that he does on his trips. And if you look back behind the airplane here, you can see Secret Service and members of the police department rushing to his plane. The president will walk off of that. He uses it as his office when he's not here. Air Force One turning around, making its way back towards where we are so he can depart from the plane. Now, there are a lot of interesting facts about this plane. It was first used by Franklin Roosevelt in 1933, and every sitting president has used Air Force One since that time. There is cargo planes that fly in ahead of the aircraft and behind the aircraft to provide the president with any needs that he might have. There are 2 food prep areas on here. It's capable of feeding over 100 people on board. Not only does he have the people that are on board with him, but all the Secret Service that are on the ground. There is an onboard operating room. The president has his own doctor on board in the event that something was to happen. Large office. He has basically a traveling oval office that he can do his business on this airplane. You can see how big it is. This is one of the largest airplanes out there. It is a Boeing 747-200B. It's been modified to meet all the presidential requirements. It's known by the radio call signal when the president is aboard as Air Force One. Now, Air Force One is making its way back towards where we are with President Obama on board. He will then depart that plane and come down here. Obviously, he's probably going to meet and shake hands with some of the people who are out here watching.
Chris, let me ask you about that if I can, if I can interrupt, because you're there, you can see who's there. Obviously, Governor Otter cannot be here for this occasion because he had his hip replaced just the other day and is in the hospital recovering. So tell us about the dignitaries that are there, not to mention, of course, Mayor Beater, who is on actually Air Force One.
Yeah, so Mayor Beater is going to exit Air Force One with President Obama. I am also told that Lieutenant Governor Brad Little is here in attendance. He will greet the president when he gets off the plane. And again, I apologize that it is getting very loud out here. Air Force One is making its approach here. But again, Mayor Beater's on board. Lieutenant Governor Brad Little is here to greet the president. You can see just how large this plane is. It is an incredible sight to see the president on board right now. You can see members of the Secret Service and the Army National Guard out here saluting the plane as it arrives. As this plane stops, you're going to see a lot of people exiting this plane. Most of those are aides to the president and the White House press corps, so a lot of media on board. It is slowing here. That front door in the front next to the presidential seal will be the door that opens that the president will walk out of. He will walk down here to where we are, greet the members of the media. Also, he will be talking to the people who are here. Those include, as I said, Lieutenant Governor Brad Little. The president is here. This is his first trip as a sitting governor. He'll be going to Boise State to talk with everybody who's in attendance there about the economics, his community college plan, to talk about how things are going. You can see now members of the Boise airport crew are walking towards the plane here. They're going to go and help the president exit the plane.
It's pretty amazing how quickly they move. I mean, for those of us who are used to traveling the normal way, he actually arrived a little bit early today, expected to arrive and touch down at about 1:20, and that's about the time that it is actually right now. So he's ahead of schedule, which bodes well, I think, for his visit. But also, I mean, tell us about the media that's there as well as we await the president actually being able to depart Air Force One. You're up on a riser there, quite a distance away from the plane, but it's a precarious situation for you as well there, Chris, right?
Yeah, and I wouldn't say we're too far away from the plane. We're maybe 300 to 400 yards away from the door that he's going to walk out of. We are on a riser. There is Secret Service in front of us. Lots of members of the media, every local media here, some media from around the state. They're all here to see the president. I'm going to kind of move back here. If my photographer Eric you'll see here, zoom out, you can see the presidential motorcade is now arriving. They're pulling up here. This is where the president will then get into to go to Boise State. We don't know the route he's going to take, but there are a lot of road closures, so that's something to be aware of. Now you can also see, and I'm going to step out of the way here.
And Chris, right there, it looks like we're looking at what appears to be essentially a custom-made tank, if you will, a limousine that is made to take all sorts of punishment in order to protect the president. And this obviously these vehicles come in on a cargo plane beforehand.
They do come in a cargo plane beforehand. I talked to a former Secret Service agent yesterday who talked to me a little bit about these cars. These cars are bulletproof. They can withstand just about anything. All these Secret Service people here, not only do they have their normal rifle, arm guns with them, they also carry fanny packs that they are able to have assault rifles in them in the event that they needed to pull them out. In the event that something happens. So the president is very well protected here. He's not only got members of the Secret Service, but the Idaho National Guard, the Boise Police Department, the Ada County Sheriff's Office, the Canyon County Sheriff's Office. Numerous agencies are here to protect the president. So that way when he is speaking, when he is driving, he is safe. The Secret Service agent that I talked to said yesterday that the agent's job is not to protect the public, it is to protect the president. So if something happens, they're going to evacuate the president. They spent the last 5 days preparing routes to the local hospitals, to different areas, to police stations, to substations, in the event that they had to get the president to safety. So they are very well versed in what they are doing to make sure that President Obama is safe here.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like they're well versed. They have all their alternate plans planned out. The president, again, we're waiting for him to depart from Air Force One and make the first actual sitting president on Idaho soil since about 2005, in fact, when President Bush came with his parents, the Bush #1 and Barbara Bush. And obviously, it's been a long time since we've had a president on Idaho soil. So a lot of excitement out there. I'm sure you had to get there early, obviously, to deal with all that security as well, Chris.
Yeah, we got here about 10:30, 11 o'clock. My photographer and some engineers were here at 8 o'clock this morning to set up all our live show. Lots of security to go through, background checks. We went through 2 security checkpoints here. This is a very well methodical, thought out plan to make sure that the president is safe. And as you mentioned, this is the first president to visit Idaho since 2005 when Bush was here, where he stayed at Tamarack Resort for a 2-day vacation. Prior to that, President Clinton was here in 2000. He was here to talk about the wildfires. President talking about the wildfires there. Obviously, this is an exciting time to be in Boise, Idaho.
It certainly is.
We're a very red state. We talked to the White House yesterday, but everybody seems to be welcoming of the president here, including all of Idaho's legislatures who are Republican or Democrat.
All right, Chris, I'm going to let you take a break for a moment as we continue to watch Air Force One here. Break in if you need to as soon as the president makes an appearance, but I want to bring in Jasper Licalzi from the College of Idaho, our political analyst, talk a little bit about today's historic event. And we were talking before we went on the air about, let's face it, back to LBJ, every sitting president has visited Idaho. It's not that rare, but it has been quite a while.
It has been 10 years, but typically presidents, that's what they do. He's president of the United States. He's not just president of the blue states.
Sure.
And presidents tend to go around and come to different states. What we're seeing here also is when presidents make an important speech, and the State of the Union's important speech, they want that to last for more than just the one day. They want to get more leverage out of the issues that they
Right.
brought up. One way to do that is to travel around and emphasize certain points. And that's what he's doing today. He's going on to Kansas. He wants to go to different places and keep that message going so it's not just a one-day story.
But what's interesting to me is I think obviously when it's fresh in people's minds, he wants to strike while the iron is hot, so to speak. And so the very first place he goes to speak after the State of the Union is a very important location to speak. So it speaks a lot about Boise State University, I think, to begin with, and I guess the engineering program.
Yeah, and I think and again, a big portion of his speech was education, helping out with the middle class, and that's what Boise State's trying to show, how continuing education and engineering and the new high-tech situation. He doesn't want to emphasize maybe some of the more difficult or issues that he's going to have a lot of problems with the Republicans in Congress on. What he wants to do is, hey, how can I emphasize what's going on that I'm proposing that everyone wants to support for the most part, and that's with education. And not get into the details of all this is going to cost so much money.
Hey guys, the president has arrived.
But look at what these places are doing.
Let's, Jesper, let's cut in here and go back to Chris Oswald. There is the President of the United States with the Mayor of Boise, Dave Beater. Chris, tell us the crowd has just erupted with applause.
Left, they're all taking pictures. They are all, it seems, lots of people over here. You can't see them because there's a bunch of media to my left here, but there's probably a good 50 to 100 people out here to watch the president. He's now down here talking with another member of, I believe it's Brad Little. I can't see that far away. Lieutenant Governor Brad Little. Brad Little is meeting with the president right now, shaking his hand. Obviously, Mayor Beater there with the president as well. Mayor Beater was in Washington, D.C. for a mayor's conference. Mayor Beater will be leaving after today's event to return back to Washington, D.C. as the president heads to Lawrence, Kansas. Now, once the president is done talking here to Lieutenant Governor Brad Little, he'll get into this vehicle here in front of Air Force One and will be escorted to Boise State University. This convoy of cars will take him there. You've got members of the Secret Service, armored vehicles, Boise Police, the Ada County paramedics are all here prepared to respond. This obviously is a very exciting time to be here in Boise, Roland.
Yeah, it certainly is, and as you mentioned, that tank-like vehicle that the president is about to get in there as he's meeting some other dignitaries, some folks with the local military, it looks like. I don't know if we can show this picture here, because tell us a little bit about the difference in transportation over the years. This is FDR, correct?
Yeah, and hopefully we can pull up the picture to see it better. And it's 1937, and that's the College of Idaho there.
Right.
And that's Sterry Hall in the back, which is still the administrative building. But if you see there is Franklin Roosevelt, and then next to him is his wife Eleanor, and Governor Chase next to him. So
right, with the top down.
With the convertible. They're just driving around. There was no metal detectors or anything like that. People weren't searched before they got in there. So again, presidents have been coming here since Harrison and Cleveland, and FDR came and took a car, drove down to the Wahi Dam.
Well, now this is interesting because Chris interviewed a Secret Service, former Secret Service agent last night, and we did a story on that. And he talked about how when everything goes as planned, it's fine with the Secret Service. When the president jumps out and starts doing different things, maybe going and meeting people in the crowd, that's where the Secret Service has to fly by the seat of its pants, so to speak, right, Chris? And I'll bring you back into this right now, Chris, as we see the president going to greet some people in the crowd.
Yeah, this is probably the Secret Service's worst nightmare, as they talked to me yesterday about, when the president just kind of veers off on his own, doesn't stand with the Secret Service agents. They have to fly by the seat of their pants to protect the president. They can plan and plan and plan and plan until they are blue in the face, but when the president wants to do something, the president does it, and they have to follow his lead. So they're over here, obviously, making sure that the president is safe. He's greeting members of the public here, friends and family of Gowan Field employees, people who got special access here. Obviously, Lieutenant Governor Brad Little is with the president, along with Mayor Beater, Roland.
All right, so it's not just media out there, Chris. There were some citizens who were able to get this close to the president.
Yeah, so there are some people out here. I don't know how good of a shot we have of the crowd with all the media and people around, but there are some general members of the public over here, probably family members of Secret Service agents. There are Secret Service agents who are based out of Boise. They're probably family of Lieutenant Governor Brad Little, along with people who just were able to get access to the president.
You know, I mean, just a huge thrill for a lot of people. I don't know if you've had a chance to meet any of the presidents or be close to the presidents. Jasper, I'll bring you back in on this, but to be that close, it's such a rarity.
It is rare for citizens, but it's somewhat rare for the president, too. This is something
Right.
that probably that he likes to do also. He's in the White House. He's always in the bubble. To be able to get out there and just kind of say, hey, how you doing? How are, you know, and it is important. And that's important for him to do also, to be able
Sure.
to spend time and press the flesh. And presidents have been doing that forever. And I'm sure it's something, hey, we've got a couple minutes, let's do this.
Yeah, they arrived a little bit early, about 4 minutes early in the Boise area, so they were a little ahead of time, gives them an opportunity to do this. But you're right, these are people, generally speaking, as politicians, who
don't
have
need.
to really like to be out meeting and greeting. It is their thing.
And there are people who the president doesn't interact with that much.
Yeah.
Interacts with his aides and members of Congress and all that, but not so often does he get to meet just some folks from Idaho. And
Right.
I think that's kind of fun for him.
It's interesting to see. You can tell, boy, they really want him to go, don't they?
Yeah.
They've got the door
They
open
got
for him.
Because they want to keep him on time.
Sure.
And President Obama isn't too bad on that from all said. Bill Clinton was notorious
Oh, is
for
that right?
always being late,
Right.
always this type of stuff. He'd spend 30 minutes here because he just liked talking to people and such. But you know, they always try to put a little bit of flexibility into the schedule so he can do a little bit of this stuff, because really this is a fun stuff, being able to talk to people.
Right, exactly. As I was reading in a story the other day, I think in the Idaho Statesman, talking about past visits. I think it was President Bush who went to the Chart House.
Yeah.
And he was having dinner.
First President Bush.
First President Bush, and all of a sudden someone walked by off in the distance carrying a weapon. It was a duck hunter, I believe. And all of a sudden, they had to have the president on the floor.
Yeah, and in Idaho, that's not that
Right,
unusual
exactly.
to be sitting at the Chart House and a duck hunter go by. But
Exactly.
it's a little bit different. And it really shows how the Secret Service does such a wonderful job.
does.
But they cannot prepare for everything. So I don't think the president's eating anything here. I don't think he's staying for,
No,
for any
probably
dinners
not.
or anything. But again, if you're president, that's something else. It's nice to do, to get the cuisine. We were talking about before. Presidents have come to Idaho, do official things like President Obama is, but a lot of them come here to
Sure.
recreate too.
Yeah.
When George W. Bush was here, did a lot of mountain biking. He
Right.
was up in Tamarack. Gerald Ford went skiing up here, and then famously Jimmy Carter was fishing, and that was that was Cecil Andrus, the Secretary of the Interior,
Right.
says, you don't know fishing till you come to Idaho and you go
that
to
is true.
the river of no return. So, and actually helped.
Hey, Roland,
Andrus
I don't know
to
if you can
push
hear me, and I
hard
can
to
interrupt
get
here.
for
Let's-
more wilderness areas.
Let's check in real quick once again with Chris, as it looks like they're starting to move on. Chris?
Yeah, so the president is entering his limousine here. Once he leaves here, they're going to head out and head to Boise State. But I want to draw your attention kind of up to the sky here, where Black Hawk helicopters are still circling the area. This is part of the process to keep the president safe. There are two that I can see right now that are driving around, making sure that the president is safe. The crowd over here to our left of about 50 to 100 people are applauding the president as he enters his motorcade here. This motorcade is going to then head to Boise State, where he's expected to speak on the economy. We've heard a lot about the economy. You heard it last night, his State of the Union, his community college plan, giving 2 years of community college to anybody willing to work for it and maintain a 2.5 GPA free. Something that's gotten a lot of opposition from Republicans here, but the president is preparing to take off here from Gowan Field. The first vehicle here is taking off. It will be the lead vehicle, followed by the president, who will be the second vehicle. All the other cars behind him will be the Secret Service members of the Boise Police Department. Looking into their windows right now, most of them have their windows up, but they do seem to already be in tactical gear, prepared to respond to any situation that might arise here. Jake Melder is actually live around the route of the president, so he'll have coverage of that coming up tonight at 5 and 6. But Roland, the president is now departing Gowan Field. He's expected to arrive at Boise State in the next hour or so, where he will speak at 2:45 about the economy, Roland.
Right, it's been moved up actually a little later to 3 o'clock. But Chris, one last thing before I let you go here as we see the motorcade moving on. Air Force One, it just kind of goes tail in, ready to take off?
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. Would you repeat that?
Air Force One will just sit there refueling and ready to take off?
Yeah, so actually something really interesting is they don't refuel Air Force One on the ground. They refuel it in the air. It's an airline, one of the biggest airlines that will ever fly into the Boise airport, the Gowan Field, but they're able to refuel it while it's in the air. So it's just ready to go. As soon as the president is done, he'll head back out here to Gowan Field, board Air Force One, and be on his way to Kansas.
All right. Well, Chris, thanks very much for that reporting as we see the motorcade moving off to where our Don Nelson is standing by live down at the Boise State University, the Kevin Williams practice facility where he's going to be giving his speech probably about 3 o'clock, right, Don?
Okay, I can barely hear you, Roland. It's like pregame for a Boise State football game. The band is here. We even have some players here at the Gavin Williams Sports Complex, of course, named after the Gavin and Williams family, longtime donors to the university. As you can see, this place is packed. The theme today, right behind me where the president will be speaking at the podium, middle class economics. Now, if you remember back in 2008, the same kind of feeling, but at Taco Bell, there were 14,000 people crammed into Taco Bell, and then Senator Barack Obama from Illinois came on a bit of a last-minute trip, Roland, and I'm sure Jasper would remember as well. Gordon Hinckley, the president of the LDS Church at the time, had passed away just days before, and Senator Barack Obama was planning a campaign trip to Salt Lake City. Well, they canceled that, and they basically looked around and said, head north, and they did, to Boise, Idaho, where they filled the Taco Bell arena with 14,000 people. And this is the excitement is just as loud and large here. About a little over 5,000 people crammed in here. They've been in line literally for hours. Early this morning, the line started up around the Gavin Williams Sports Complex, waiting for the president to come in and make his remarks. And you know he's going to have a lot of fun, I'm sure, being in a football complex here. This is, their practice facility. We're right on the football field, a 100-yard field here, high enough too that they can practice their field goals and punts as well. But a lot of people outside, and Lauren Johnson is with us here, and she was out there talking to the crowd and talking. They had the large rally for Saeed Abedini, and I think if we can ask Lauren a little bit about the feel out in the parking lot, especially at that rally. Lauren?
Don, I think we'll get to Lauren in just a moment. Can you hear me okay right now?
Okay.
Okay, while we're waiting for Lauren, let me ask you, Jasper, 2008, candidate Barack Obama comes to the Boise Air. 14,000 people. How about that? Do you remember the whole thing?
Oh, yeah, he was supposed to be in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, Don was talking about that.
And he wasn't able to go there, and just at the last moment comes here and packs Taco Bell Arena. Some people thought he should go there today also to let more people in. But as president, they'd like to have a little more secure area.
Well,
this place
let's talk a little bit about
that.
This
place is a little better.
It's a lot easier to deal with, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Trying to get 14,000 people through metal detectors and all that type of stuff. And there is security for presidential candidates. It's just with the president, it's just riveted up to a lot higher level. You also want to control the crowd to some extent, too. I mean, when the president's going to be here, he's going to be pushing his middle-class economics, which was one of the keystones of what he talked about during the State of the Union address. So he has a specific message that he wants to get across. 14,000 people is just a little bit difficult to deal with. So let's make it more manageable.
It is interesting because he'll be going to Kansas next.
Yes.
And he's actually going to be going to a very similar facility, a football practice facility. And our Lauren Johnson was outside the Kevin Williams practice facility talking to people out there. Lauren, what kind of crowds are outside? What have you been hearing?
Hey, Roland, it's actually a lot of energy outside as the line is long, people are excited, everyone we talk to, and then there was a rally for the Abedini family. Nagme, as we know now, is going to meet with the president prior to his speech about her husband Saeed, and there was a rally outside, a rather large one actually. A lot of people came out in support of Saeed and being able to free him from the Iranian prison. They say that he is there illegally. As we know, that he was a Christian missionary and he went over there and he is being held. And so actually there was a letter sent, I have the letter here, that was actually sent to the White House about Abedini's imprisonment and how Nogme wanted to meet with the president. It's signed by Senator Mike Crapo, Senator Risch, Raul Labrador, and Mike Simpson. And in it, they actually request, as a delegation, we write to you to express our deep concern about Pastor Saeed Abedini's continuing unjust incarceration in the Iranian prison. It continues. In light of your anticipated visit to Boise, we hope that you'll meet with us. And again, the response has been positive. President Obama has said that he will meet with Nogme. So we are excited for that, and we'll definitely keep you posted. Roland, back to you.
All right, Lauren, thanks very much. Big news, obviously, for the Abedini family. Not only Nogme, but also the children will be in on that meeting with the president. So we'll have more details on that. We also understand...
And probably in the same venue, probably in the back there, where they have like a green room type of area for him. That's often where he'll meet those types of people. I think what's interesting about his meeting about Saeed, which is important, is this ties into what he said in the State of the Union address also. Remember, he talked about going to veto anything that comes from the Congress, which is going to be additional sanctions on Iran, because he wants to deal with diplomacy. I believe that this ties right into it. More sanctions from Congress will make it much more difficult for the Obama administration to try to come up with a deal to get Saeed out of there. More sanctions just going to make it harder. So I think, people are saying, "Oh, the president doesn't want that." No, I think he does. I think this ties in with the message he was trying to go there.
He was very clear about that. There's no doubt about it. Jasper, again, we're looking live right now at the Kevin Williams practice facility where the president is headed right now. Of course, again, just to recap, he touched down just a little bit before 1:20 at Gowan Field. Now on his way, making his way through Boise to give his speech down at the Boise State campus. Before that, we understand he'll be touring the engineering facilities at Boise State University and possibly meeting with Nogme Abedini about her husband's fate. We, of course, will have continuing coverage live of what's going on with the president's historic visit here to the Boise area. We will break in a little bit before he begins his arrival there at Boise State to give his speech, and we will have continuing coverage, full coverage, both on Fox 9 and on Today's 6 right here. So for right now, we'll send you back to local programming, and we will be back with the very latest on the president later on, just before 3 o'clock.